Well, as we know, COVID has impacted so many businesses and industries, and arguably one of the hardest hit industries has been hospitality and entertainment. And there are still so many uncertainties about how our favorite restaurants and event venues will not just survive if they have, but also thrive. Who better to get perspective on this and where we are actually at right now than the founder of Peter and Paul's Hospitality Group, Peter Eliopoulos. The company was started in 1982 and is entering its 40th year this coming May. It grew from the ground up and now includes restaurants to gorgeous venues, hosts stylized corporate events and weddings, and has vast catering services. And of course, Peter and Paul's Gifts. Peter, welcome. So nice to be able to catch up with you and get your perspective. I'm sure it's been a really tough 18 months. So welcome, and just give us big picture. How has COVID impacted you and your company?
Well, thank you for having me. And it's important that we tell the public a little bit of what's going on, because we should be doing more of this stuff. So thank you. Listen, for us, I mean, you said it in your own words that the hospitality business has been devastated, and it started right from the beginning, and nobody knew what was going to happen, how long it's going to last, and this thing is continuing. And it's still, I feel that people like the government and the people around, that we could have been doing something more, like to accommodate our business. So for us, I mean, it's we've been shut down for a long time, and the government is helping a little bit here and there, but I mean, they're shutting down, and we still had to keep our doors open. We had to, pay our staff, and so it's been like really, really, really hard for us. Plus, dealing with all the functions that were booked like 2 years before, that we had to postpone. Find new dates for them, and that was like devastating for our staff and everything else.
Right, one can only imagine. Peter, I wonder as well, though. I think that when we got the vaccine and things began to open up, there's so much hope that you and your industry should kind of be starting to rally. But there's different, and this is where it gets so difficult. There's so many different government policies surrounding the vaccine, highly debated, of course, in terms of who should get vaccinated, who doesn't need to be. What's going on in your industry that's actually not necessarily helping your industry get to the next side?
Well, we saw a dramatic change from when they made the announcement to what was going on before. So, look, it's something that people, like, nobody really knows, like, exactly how and what. I just wish that they would have called their hospitality key people in Toronto and asked for our opinion, asked for our, like, how they can help us, and how can we accommodate the whole thing, because it is very serious, what's going on out there. I want to keep everything very safe, and that's 100%. So, because that's priority number one. But, the vaccine is something that I guess it's a way of getting people vaccinated, and it's a good thing, and I just want to get back to normal as quickly as possible.
But Peter, isn't one of the issues, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a standard for the patron who needs to be vaccinated, but the employee not necessarily so, and that causes some issues in terms of planning?
Yeah, that's 100%. And the way we're dealing with that is that the companies that want everybody vaccinated, which I don't blame them, then we would have to accommodate and pick people from our company that are vaccinated and eliminate people that are not vaccinated that day. So, it's a tough question. It's a tough thing. I mean, I cannot, we employ a lot of people, and I don't think I'm in a position where I would force anybody to get vaccinated. Mm-hmm. We can recommend like we have a thing happening next week, and like, but I don't think I can be in the position at this point that I can say, look, I want everybody vaccinated,
Right.
otherwise you're not going to make the work.
All right, we're going to pick it up on the labor point when we return. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Peter, I do want to pick it up on the labor issue because we're hearing a lot about labor shortages. What's it like in the hospitality industry right now in terms of trying to get people back to work?
So besides, we're looking for customers. So we've been looking for customers for a long time. Now it's like we opened up, and to give you an idea, one of our steakhouses, the David Duncan House, is we cannot open the whole place up because we have no staff. I mean, when we opened up, we had to make a decision: are we going to do the patio or are we going to do the inside? We couldn't have both things open. So the labor is a big problem, and it's getting worse because the places are getting busier, including our venues and stuff. But then labor is very important. To give you an idea.
Yeah, well, give me an idea, but how do you explain the shortage? I mean, is it because of the payments, the government payments? What's going on?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, the government needs to stop paying the people to stay home. Okay, so there's a comfort level that people have been doing for the last year and a half, 2 years now, and he's paying them to stay home. Some people are, and the fact is that the fact that we were closed for such a long time, people they got other jobs, a different industry. Mm-hmm. Some of them are coming back, and some of them are also coming back, and they're saying, look, they want to collect the government subsidy, like the government that is paying them, and at the meantime, make some extra money on the side, which is terrible. So the government needs really to stop paying the people and say, look, get off and go back to work.
Yeah. Peter, I also want to get your take as well. That's obviously another headwind for the industry, but also talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing on the inflation front. I mean, of course, in business, we're watching the U.S. 10-year yield climb higher. We're seeing WTI oil hit a 7-year high. The U.S. Federal Reserve saying that this is transitory. You're in business. I mean, you've got a real business. What is the reality of inflation? Is it sticky? What are you seeing?
Well, our business, I want to say it again, it's probably the worst that is of all the business it's got ever hit, because from the beginning we're facing with different stumbling blocks, and now this thing about price increasing. I mean, we're talking food anywhere from 25 to 100% of increase, and I'm not just using these numbers. This is reality. Labor, the same, off the roof, because people are coming back, says, you want me to work? Okay, I need more money. So it's gotten through the roof. And the thing is that there's parties, the weddings that say that people have booked, we can almost say 4 years ago. And that the party was supposed to happen 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And now, my contract says that I can increase the price per person. But you know what? I mean, we're not in that. So we're trying to make things happen. I mean, We're opened up. Basically, we're losing money opening our doors because of the inflation of what's going on. So it's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah, understood. We only have about a minute left, Peter. So I just want to get your thoughts. The fact that you've been in business 40 years, coming up in May 2022, obviously you know how to get through tough times. You are an entrepreneur as well, obviously. What are you thinking now in terms of your business strategy and outlook, and any kind of words of advice to others in your industry who aren't, at the same level that you are?
Well, listen, we need to accept that this thing it's gonna be here. It's not gonna go away. It's gonna stay. And we need to readjust and to rethink and to recreate things, different ways of doing business. We need to get back to what we do, like hospitality, and be able to give to people and entertain people and get it back into a party mood and put this thing behind us in a new way. So, and the other thing is that the customers, like, I mean, they should, patronize, their neighborhood restaurants, their favorite restaurants, and looking forward of moving forward. I mean, and put this thing behind, because it's been terrible.
Yeah, it has been for sure. Peter, appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We've seen some industry groups really hard hit by COVID-19, including the restaurant companies, gyms, and also clubs. I wanted to take a look at these beautiful visuals we have of the Cambridge group of clubs. Well, the Cambridge group of clubs includes a couple of key clubs that the Bay Street elite do join and get together and discuss deals and business. That, of course, is the Cambridge Club. Also including in this group is the Adelaide Club and the Toronto Athletic Club. Joining me now is Clive Caldwell, the founder, CEO of the Cambridge group of clubs. Clive, great to see you and wonderful to see those visuals. I feel like it makes me want to get back into the gym, into the clubs, and to do it as soon as we're done taping as well. So welcome and thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Catherine. Great to be here.
Clive, I want to take us back a little bit in terms of the government programs, both federally as well as provincially, that you had to understand. I think they were somewhat confusing in the beginning days.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like, what worked and what didn't work.
Well, you're absolutely right. It was very confusing, and it's been tricky all the way through the piece for us. We had just a magnificent HR leader, a woman named Andrea Larson, who had to work her way through all of these things. But there's no doubt it was a great help both to us corporately and a great help to our people. And I think it's fair to say there were a lot of discussions on what was going to happen in the election. And I think that the victory by the Liberals was probably because of all of the support that they've been giving to Canadians over the past 18 months was a big help in that election campaign.
And were you able to access the funds? I mean,
We were.
You were.
We were, and quickly. I mean, it's amazing how quickly governments responded and paid. I mean, it was really quite shocking on some situations. You'd get it in, and a week later, the money's in your bank account. It was quite quick how they were responding.
Do you think that that's in part, though, because as you say, you had a great colleague who was, helping to make sure that you and your team got the money? Because I've interviewed a lot of restaurateurs who had a real difficult time and were really quite confused with the whole process. It's almost as though you had to be a certain size and maybe your size to be able to navigate it.
Yeah, that may be true. We have a CFO as well, a woman named Karen Malone, and she is just on top of everything. And so you may be absolutely correct that we were able to really do it properly. And as a standalone restaurant, to have the infrastructure to really manage your way through all of these things is not that easy to do.
One of the areas as well that, got talked a lot about more in the beginning days is the relationship between the business owner and the real estate owner.
Yeah.
and who really should foot the bill or carry the costs. What was that like for you?
Well, that was a big challenge, and as you may know, we had to seek legal restructuring and a law called CCAA, which is similar, I think, to Chapter 11 in the United States. But at the end of the day, our landlords were really helpful. That was Brookfield and Cadillac Fairview. They were extremely helpful, and had they not been, we just would not have survived. But we've really come through the process well. Our balance sheet is pretty healthy, and our big challenge now is coming out of this and not losing a fortune as we work our way back, and it's going to take some time.
And how do you do that? What's the plan for that? Because a lot of people, the people who have kind of made it through, that's great, and now they're almost waiting for people to come.
Yeah. Well, we just have to be cautious. We've got to not blow our brains out in terms of having 150 group exercise classes a week as we used to do prior to the pandemic. We've got to make sure we're keeping the numbers related to the numbers of members that are coming back. So we've just got to be very cautious and careful.
You know, again, going through all of this in the past 18 months and interviewing many business owners along the way, a lot of them have tried to reach out to various politicians to make their case. Have you in your team done that at all, or was that not? It doesn't sound as though for your case it was necessary. Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't really necessary. And, you know, lots of discussions with people, and I know a lot of people in reaching out to politicians, and I haven't heard of much success about that. They've had a direction they had to go. And I must admit, I've asked a lot of Canadians and a lot of friends how they felt about things and the cautiousness of our governments. I found most of my friends have been supportive of it. I've been rather surprised where the Americans have just been opening up. And I've been surprised how many of my friends said, no, I think our governments are doing the right things to be cautious and careful. So, but I haven't heard of a lot of success with fitness club owners reaching out to politicians and getting things changed much.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. It's almost as though there wasn't that kind of communication link that perhaps needed to be. But I'm glad it seems as though it's worked out for you and your ability to make sure that you got the funds to move forward.
Yeah, we were lucky.
What do you want to see going forward? And maybe it's from a government perspective, because we're certainly not out of the woods here yet in terms of all the regulations surrounding this. And you just mentioned that the U.S. has, really opened up, and that's true. I mean, they really have.
They really have.
Yeah, and I think it's working for them. I think it's working because they're able to get back to business a little bit. So, what do you want to see here in Ontario in particular? Because that's where your clubs are.
Yeah. Well, I think, as I said a moment ago, they've been very, very cautious. And I think in many ways, the most cautious of almost any region, at least in the first world, around the world. But I think they've had the support of Canadians. And I think they're going to continue to be cautious and try to get to a point where it's very easy to open it up and the danger has mainly passed. I think we're going to be wearing masks for quite a while. We need to get more people vaccinated, and these new policies from the Ontario government and the passports required are going to get more people vaccinated. I think it was Pfizer yesterday came out to say that they're recommending, they've proven to themselves that they can vaccinate from 5 to 12 very safely. So all of that still has to come through. I think it's going to be a while. It's not going to open up, I don't think, in the next 2 or 3 months, but I think they've got to start to continue thinking about opening things up as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting when you think about the Cambridge Club. And when I first started on Bay Street and then moved to Wall Street, I remember all the guys going to the Cambridge Club. It was quite the place to go. And business is all about relationships, and so many relationships I think really formed and grew at the Cambridge Club. I'm sure you have so many friends there. So I want to ask a few anecdotes in terms of what some of them are thinking about business and the economy from friends that you've had there.
Well, some of them I'm yelling at in a very nasty way, the kind of language I shouldn't use. As a dear friend of mine who is a senior partner at one of the major law firms, and I asked him, "How are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm really sorry, but we had a record year." A lot of these law firms and the banks, you read it. I mean, they're all doing extremely well, but these are services that can be provided virtually. You don't have to be face to face. And so they're all doing well. My daughter as well is a Wall Street girl, and she hasn't been working. She hasn't been in the buildings in the last 18 months, but they've been doing extremely well. So I think that's the state of many, many businesses downtown. It's the hospitality and it's the face-to-face, the retail that is the ones that have really suffered in this.
Yeah, definitely the have and have nots, and hopefully we kind of all get back to business where everybody can prosper.
Right, absolutely.
All right. Clive, we're going to leave it there. It's been great to speak with you.
Many thanks, Catherine. It's really a delight to meet with you and let everyone know our story and the fitness story.
Absolutely. Fitness. I think you're going to have so many people come back because, really, a lot of people got out of shape.
But it's what this pandemic has proven, and it's part of what the fitness industry has been about, which we're really part of the healthcare system. And that the fitness problem and it improves your immune system. You have much better health outcomes if you're fitter. So I think you're right. There's going to be an expansion of fitness memberships in the months and years to come.
Can't wait. We'll do it. Clive,
Thank
nice
you very
to
much.
see you. Thank you. We'll speak to you soon.